What's up, everybody? We're back here on the Hunter Call of the Wild. Well, we're on a tier list of the Hunter Call of the Wild. This one was made by Champion Aiden. It's just one of the ones that you can search up on tiermaker.com. Anybody can access this and make their own tier list. Just wanted to make sure I mentioned the creator of it before we get into it. I did add one thing to it before we started up. I added the Into Suyu logo because for some reason it hasn't been updated since a Ski Ridge, so I had to add Into Suyu in. But aside from that, this was made by Champion Aiden. So let's go ahead and start ranking. Now, one thing I want to tell you guys off the bat. This is just my opinion. Keep in mind, I'm not saying that any of these maps are bad or like awful for everybody. Some people just have different opinions on what makes a good map. I'm going to be looking at these from the standpoint of what maps I have the most fun on and which maps I think have the best species, are the most beautiful, like a combination of all of those things. And also, whenever I place something on this tier list, that doesn't mean it's staying there. So stay tuned to the end of the video, because at the end, I'll shuffle around things that I think I may have misjudged early on in the list. All right, we're about to get started with this tier list, but before I do, leave a comment down below letting me know how you would rank these, how you would change some of the rankings that I put down, and also be sure to hit the like on the video if you guys haven't already. It is insanely helpful to the performance of these videos, and I really do appreciate it. It shows me that you guys like the content, and it shows YouTube that you like the content, and then YouTube's more likely to share it to more people. But with that being said, let's just get into it. Let's go ahead and start ranking. We are going to start at the very beginning, no matter what order these are in. Let's just go ahead and start with Layton Lake District. Now, Layton Lake District is one of the original maps for the Hunter Call of the Wild. It is the map that most people started out on, because a lot of people went for this instead of Hirschfelden, because Hirschfelden was familiar from the Hunter Classic, but Layton was like a fully brand new map. And so a lot of us started out on this map when Call of the Wild released. And it's got a very solid species list. There's lots of antlered games there if you guys enjoy hunting deer, elk, moose, etc. And overall, I think this is a very solid map. It is one of the best moose and whitetail grinding maps in the entire game. It's very familiar to me personally because I live in Oregon, so Layton Lakes is basically in my backyard. This is going to go into the good tier. I think it's a good map, but it's not a fantastic map. I'm also going to change this never played tier. We are going to rename this to best maps, or we'll rename it to top 3, and then we'll drag it to the top. There we go. I think that looks a little bit better, because I do feel like a map could be considered amazing, but still not make it into my top 3 maps. So this is how we're going to do it. We've got top 3 amazing, good, okay, bad, and terrible. I don't really think anything's probably going to end up in the terrible category, because even my least favorite maps, I still wouldn't classify them as terrible. Now let's go ahead and go straight to a map that I am not very fond of, New England Mountains. Now, my biggest problem with New England when it came out was that it was sold as a grinder's paradise, but it turned out to just be kind of terrible for grinding. Almost every species on that map drinks across the entire map. The majority of them do, which makes it really rough for grinding. There's only a couple species that I would ever consider grinding on that map, and that would be like the gray fox. I mean, gray fox are always fun on there. Raccoon are fun on there. But most of the other stuff, they're just too spread out. There's too many of them. It makes it tough to do any type of grind. On top of it, you do have the fact that it was mainly reused species. There was only one new species, and I believe it was just slight adjustments of an existing species, with that being the green-winged teal getting added with New England. Overall, it was just an underwhelming map. It is very pretty, and that is the one saving grace for New England Mountains. And keep in mind, this is just my personal opinion. I think the map is beautiful, but I think it has a very lackluster species list, and it's not very good for my personal preference playstyle. And so because of that, I would put it into the bad tier. New England, I just feel like, was more of a filler map. Now, next up is Medved Taiga. Now, this map used to be a pretty poorly ranked map for me, but over the years, they've made some changes to it to the point where Medved is actually relatively fun now. A lot of the animals have got changes over the years to make it so their home ranges make more sense, their drink times make more sense. This went from being what I would have classified as a terrible map, clear up to an okay map. I mean, Medved's a solid option. It's quite different from some of the other maps in terms of the environment that you're hunting in, and it's got some pretty cool species as well. Next up, we got Revontuli Coast. Now, this is a fan favorite, and I still think Revontuli is a fantastic map. The thing is, like, ever since Revontuli got released, there have been so many good maps released. I mean, pretty much every map after Rev, aside from maybe one, I would rank above Rev. And because of that, I don't think Revontuli is going to be a top 3 for me. I kind of want to put it in the amazing tier because I do think it's an amazing map. But at the same time, it has dropped down a little bit for me as new maps have been released. I'm so, like, tempted to put it at the top of good. But at the same time, I could put it in amazing. But then again, do I really like it more than Layton? You know what? We're going to drop it above Layton for now in the good tier. However, like I said, at the end of this video, we're going to come back and reshuffle around some of the stuff that I feel needs to be moved. So this isn't the end of the rankings for Revontuli. Now let's go to Emerald Coast. This is one of my favorite maps in the entire game. It's got such an insanely unique set of species. It is the only Australia map in the game, and it's got some awesome hunting. You've got kangaroos, you've got crocodiles, you've got the bantang, you've got an awesome population of roosa deer, sambar deer, hog deer. Like, this right here is a deer hunter's paradise, because not only do you have those, you also have the red deer, you have the fallow deer, you have the axis deer. This is my kind of map, man. And I have had so much fun on Emerald Coast. This right here, for now, it's gonna go... Oh, do I put it here? Yeah? I would say it has to be. Because I don't think it's top 3 anymore. It would have been a couple of years ago. But I just think better maps have come out since. But it's still gonna be our first one to go into the amazing tier. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Sunderpatten. Sunderpatten is a top map for me. Easily. Like, let's just put it right up. Top 3 map. Sunderpatten is fantastic. This map has some fantastic hunting and some very unique species. It's got the snow leopard, it's got the tiger. The scenery is absolutely beautiful. I love some of the interesting and different species that this map provides. I mean, you've got stuff like the muntjac. You've got one of my favorites, the Barasinga. It's also a fantastic water buffalo map. And like I said, tigers. I mean, need I say more? Tigers and snow leopards make this map incredible. Then you got the blue sheep and the tar up in the mountains. You've got the yak. This is a fantastic map. I've spent so much time hunting on this map, whether it's Great One grinding for the tar, grinding for rare tigers, or just hunting around and seeing whatever we can find. This is just an enjoyable map. And next up, we have Virhonga Savannah. Now, my placement on Virhonga might end up being a little bit controversial. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly why I don't view this map as being a top map like some people may. The thing about Virhonga Savannah is I feel like it's been one of the most neglected maps over the years. And because of that, it's probably just in the good category. Like, the problem with Virhonga, and you know what, I'm going to put Rev above it even. The problem with Virhonga is this map has so much potential. It's an African map. The scenery is relatively awesome. It's got a few really good species like the lion and the Cape buffalo, but it really lacks in quality of life updates per se. Like, a lot of the species that were supposed to get true racks didn't get them. Stuff like the Gemsbok and the Cape buffalo, they've still got the legacy horns. On top of it, this is the only map in the game that does not have a great one, which is kind of crazy because it's one of the more popular maps in the community. Oh, and blue wildebeest are another thing that do not have true horns, which is, you know, quite interesting, and it's very sad that they don't, because I think they would look awesome. I just feel like while Virhonga would have been a top map years ago, it hasn't got as many updates as other maps and other species did on those maps to make it grow with the times. And while these newer maps they've released have had such a increase in quality, Virhonga just kind of lags behind, and I think it needs an overhaul badly. Now, don't get me wrong, it is still a very, very fun map, and like I said, I put it in the good category. It's a good map. But I don't consider it amazing or top 3. And keep in mind, whenever I do these videos, this is all off the dome. I never script anything with these types of vids, so I'm just waffling as I think of stuff to say. So some things may get repeated once or twice when I'm trying to explain my thoughts on a map. Next up, we got Parque Fernando. And I'm gonna be honest, guys. This is my least favorite map in Call of the Wild. And there's a big reason for that. Every single species on Parque Fernando has been reused on other maps since Parque Fernando released. And it just makes Parque Fernando feel like it's not as unique or interesting. And a lot of the hunting I find to be very annoying in places on the map. It's an incredibly brushy map. Like I said, a lot of the species on there, you can actually, every single species on there, you can get on other maps. And the hunting for them is typically easier or more enjoyable on those other maps. It's just a map that really doesn't appeal to me anymore. And again, this is just my opinion. Some of you may love Parque Fernando. Everybody's going to have their own opinions on what maps are the best. But for me, Parque Fernando, it's probably going to be at the bottom of bad. Now, like I said, I doubt I'm going to put any maps in terrible because I don't think there is such thing as a terrible map in Call of the Wild. Typically, there's at least some redeeming qualities. And I guess for Parque Fernando, a redeeming quality would be that it's a good multiplayer map. It is quite fun to hunt it in multiplayer because you can see quite a few animals on some of the major lakes. But, you know, outside of that, it's not really my type of map. Now, this next map, though, this is a solid map right here. Yukon Valley. Now, back in the old days of these tier lists, tier lists I would have made a couple years ago, I probably would have considered this just an average map because it's a gorgeous map. It's one of the prettiest in the entire game, but I felt like the species lineup was pretty mid. But since then, they've obviously done the backfill where I believe, what was it? Was it plains bison? No, bison were already there, right? I know for a fact geese got added, the Canadian geese. I feel like there was another species that got added to it as well, but maybe I'm wrong. But on top of it, we got the Great One Wolf, and the Great One Wolf just happens to be one of the most fun great ones to go for. Wolf grinding is incredibly enjoyable, and Yukon is a fantastic map for that. On top of the beauty and the, relatively cool species list, I do still feel like the grizzlies need to be updated because they look a little boxy and a little odd in comparison to some of the other bears that have got reworks over the years. So grizzlies definitely need some work. But, overall, Yukon is a solid map. I would put this in the good tier. I don't know where, though. I'm going to put it below Layton because personally, to me, I like Layton more. And in fact, I think I like Layton more than Virhonga even. So we're going to move those around a little bit. And you know what? Now that I'm looking at things again, I think I kind of like Layton more than Revontuli. Like I said, this is probably just my bias because Layton looks like where I live. Like, it looks very similar to Oregon because I believe Layton is made to look like Washington. It's based in Washington. So, very, very similar to what we've got here in Oregon. And I've done countless Great One grinds on this map. It's just such a fun map. Next up, we got Cuatro Colinas, which I feel like this map gets a lot more hate than it deserves. There's a lot of people that despise Cuatro Colinas. They think it's boring. They don't like that all 4 of the ibex species have the same model, just with different horns. But over the years, I feel like this map has got better. Obviously, pheasants were added to it, which was really awesome. And then on top of that, you've got the roe deer Great One now. And the wild boar Great One can be hunted on there too. So when you think about all the different Great Ones you can get on here, it's like what? Red deer, you've got wild boar, you've got roe deer, you've got pheasant. Am I missing any? I think that's all. But point is, over the years, Cuatro Colinas has become more enjoyable to me. Now, it started as my favorite map overall back in the early days of Call of the Wild, but that was before other maps like Tiawaroa got added. Because back in the day, Cuatro Colinas was the peak red deer hunting map. It was amazing. And then as time went on, new maps got added. Cuatro kind of stayed the same until very recently when those new Great Ones got added. Now I would consider it probably a pretty average map overall. I'm going to put it top of the okay tier. This map right here has probably received like the craziest changes over time for like my personal opinions on it. Back in the early days, I would have considered this an amazing map. Then it kind of dropped to like terrible/bad. And then with, recent additions to it, it's gone back up to being an okay map. So overall, I do like Cuatro Colinas, but it's very situational as to whether or not I'm going to hunt it. It's pretty much only for grinds. That's the only time I ever go to Cuatro. But like I said, pretty good for roe deer. It's fantastic for roe deer. It's a solid boar map. So the grinds that it does have are pretty good. A lot of people like the pheasant grinding on there as well. Next up, we got Silver Ridge Peaks. Very similar to Quattro Colinas, this map used to be clear up here. This used to be my #1 freaking map. But then as time went on, they did the population redistribution as well as changing the drink times of a lot of species, and it kind of went down after they redistributed the populations. I feel like the old layout for animals was way better. It was much better when mountain goats had a drink time. They took that away. It used to be a top map for me, but some of the decisions they made have kind of pushed this map down. Do I think it's still fantastic? Yes, I still think it's a great map. I think this is going to be our second one that goes into the amazing tier, but I feel like it just barely gets into the amazing tier. Like, it's better than Layton, but it's nowhere near being as good as Emerald Coast in its current state. Now, if they were to give mountain goats drink time again, oh, this would go to the top of amazing tier. Next up, we got Tiawaroa. I feel like this is an insanely underrated map. I feel like too many people write this map off because it isn't the way they wanted New Zealand to be. But for me, Tiawaroa is a top map. Now, is it top 3? Probably not. I don't think it's top 3 anymore, but it's maybe number 4. Tiawaroa to me is a phenomenal map. And actually, you know what? Is it above Emerald Coast? I don't know. The thing about Tiawaroa is, if there's a Great One species that you want to grind and it's available on Tiawaroa, it's likely going to be the best place to grind it, or very close to being the best. It's an incredible fallow map. It's a fantastic red deer map. And overall, you see so many animals to hunt when you're playing on Tiawaroa. This is one of those maps where there's never a dull moment. There's a lot of open areas, and on the flip side, there's also a lot of super brushy, thick forests where if you're a bow hunter, that's going to be a bow hunter's paradise. It's got pretty much a little bit of everything. The fantastic map for just running around in the open, like fields and stuff along the rivers. It's great for grinding. It's great for casual bow hunting. It's just an awesome map overall. I'm going to put it right below Emerald Coast because I do think Emerald Coast might be a little bit better. But it's close, man. I love Tiawaroa. Next up is Rancho del Arroyo, a map that had so much potential, but sadly just missed the mark a little bit. The thing about Rancho del Arroyo that I dislike is there was a lot of species that they really could have added to this that would have been amazing. But sadly, they skipped out on it in favor of other species that, in my personal opinion, are a little less interesting. Now, one of the cool things about this, though, is it's the only place that you can hunt the desert bighorn sheep, because the bighorn sheep in Call of the Wild are region specific. So like on Ski Ridge and Silver Ridge Peaks, you've got the Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep. On Rancho, you have the desert bighorn sheep, and there actually is visual differences between them, which is super cool. It is also a relatively underrated map for grinding the Great One mule deer as well as grinding the Great One whitetail deer, because it's not a bad map for them, and it's also not a great map. It's literally like middle of the road. So a lot of people just completely overlook it because people looking for a challenge, they're going to go to like New England mountains to grind their whitetail, or they're going to go to like Parque Fernando to grind their mule deer. And people that want an easy grind, well, they're going to pick whitetail on Layton or Revontuli. And people that want an easy muley grind are going to go to a Ski Ridge or Silver Ridge Peak. So Rancho sits in a weird spot where not only is it missing some of the key species I thought that would have made it good, like the Aoudad and the Coos deer. Those are like two species that could have made this an amazing map. But sadly, they just didn't add them. On top of it, it's just kind of average overall. Like, it's not the most fun. It's not the least fun. I don't know. I think it's an okay map. I feel like it could have been so much better. And it was a little bit of a disappointment. So I'll put it at the bottom of okay tier. And that actually does remind me, the species used to be so much more fun to hunt on Rancho. Before they did the population redistribution update, like all the home ranges for the animals on Rancho were so good. Like, it was a fantastic whitetail map. It was fantastic for everything else. You could even just do casual walking around, shooting whatever you see hunts, and you'd find pockets of like, 20, 30, 40 animals in some of the fields. And then they redistributed the population, changed the drink times and stuff, and things just haven't felt that great since. When it first came out, I probably would have kept it in the good tier, maybe even amazing, but it's just okay. That's just how it is. Like, as it stands, it's just okay. Mississippi. This is one that I feel gets a little more hate than it really deserves. People seem to despise Mississippi. Like, whenever I ask people their least favorite maps, so many people say Mississippi. but I personally find Mississippi kind of enjoyable. It's a very different designed map. I feel like the whole cornfields, cotton fields, like all the cool like different fields that you can hunt through. The weird like river pattern makes it so that you can set up feeders and get a pretty effective grind because the animals, well, they don't have too many places to go. You just place those feeders in between like the winds of the river and you got a fantastic feeder grind. Not to mention the gator hunting is quite enjoyable on this map. It's a decent place to go to if you want to get small game. And believe it or not, it's the second best black bear grinding map in the game, which a lot of people don't even realize. I feel like this place is just incredibly overhated. I love Mississippi, and I'd even put it above Rancho in the current state, I feel. I think Rancho has fallen down further and further every year for me. I think at this point I would take Mississippi over Rancho, which is something I never thought I'd say. Next up, we got Hirschfelden. Now, one thing that Hirschfelden does have going for it is that it's a gorgeous map, and it also is the only place you can hunt the European bison. And believe it or not, the European bison grinding is actually pretty fantastic. They're an awesome species to hunt on Hirsch. But unfortunately, a lot of the other species on that map have been reused on other maps, and the hunting for them is just better on those other maps. Now, a lot of people that want to challenge or are big bow hunters do love Hirschfelden, but that's just not really me. I'm not much of a bow hunter. I prefer to kill as many animals as I can as fast as possible, or to just trophy hunt in general in most of the cases. So for me, Hirschfelden doesn't rank as a very good map, but there's a lot of people that love Hirsch. Now, what I would say is Hirschfelden is better than New England and it's better than Parquet. I'll put it right there at the top of the bad tier. Which brings us to Hirschfelden Light, Salzwiesen Park. Personally, I think this is a more fun map than Hirschfelden because it's incredibly different. It's a small game focused map. There's some really awesome species on here. It is by far the best map if you're trying to grind the Great One Pheasant, or even if you want to grind the Great One Fox, it's pretty phenomenal as well. It's a very unique map in the fact that it's very small in comparison to any other reserve in Call of the Wild. And it's got a pretty interesting lineup of species. You got raccoons, raccoon dogs, you got red fox, you got a bunch of different birds and stuff. Like, it's a very fun map if you love small game, or if you love just shooting a crap load of stuff in a small amount of time. I would say that this is a good map. I don't know if I'd put it up as amazing. It's tempting though. I don't know. I would put Sal's somewhere around here. Honestly, it's not better than Rev. I would say Rev is still above it. I'm going to put it right there, which, to be honest, a couple years ago, or maybe like a year and a half ago, I probably would have ranked it up in my like top 5, but yeah, it's not there anymore. Next up, we got Tornonsheen. This is the Scotland map that was added in December of 2025, I believe. It's a pretty fun map. It is very unique in the fact that it is the only map that you can hunt a cryptid on. You can find the wild haggis on Tornonsheen, as well as it being a pretty phenomenal grinding map overall. Like, if you're wanting to grind red deer, it's probably the best or second best map in the game. If you want to grind fallow, I would say it's probably the second best. It's also a phenomenal boar hunting map. If you're using feeders, it's probably the #1 boar grinding map. On top of it, you have stuff like pheasant that you could grind on here. And overall, it's just a really fun map to hunt. Like, this is a very enjoyable map, even though it reused a lot of species from old maps. The scenery is also beautiful. And overall, I'd say this was a pretty popular and well-received map, and I still really enjoy hunting on it. It also has some really cool species like the mink and the pine marten. This was the first map to get mustelids. It also has the badgers, which are super fun. I really do like Tornonsheen, and I think I'm going to put it in the amazing tier. In fact, I'm going to put it above Silver Ridge even. And then there were two. We've got a Ski Ridge and Intasuyu remaining. We're going to go with a Ski Ridge next. I mean, you guys know how it is. A Ski Ridge is my favorite map in the entire game. It's going to be staying right at that top spot, man. It is a phenomenal map. Not only is it the best mule deer grinding map in the entire game, but it is basically my perfect map. It has a species list that I think is phenomenal. The flow of the map feels incredibly good. If you're hunting one species in their drink time, you're likely to see a bunch of other species feeding along the rivers. It's just super enjoyable. It's basically what Silver Ridge Peaks used to be, but snowy with deformable snow when you're walking through it. Like, it's just an awesome map, man. Like, what else is there to say? A ski ridge is a top map for me. Not to mention you have the beavers, which are really fun. They're the only species in the game that can cut down trees and carry off sticks and stuff, which is really awesome. After literally a year and a couple of months, a ski ridge is still my top map. This is one of those things where, like, I always try to wait a couple months before I fully, like, make a decision on where I would rank a map. And a ski ridge is one that is just, it's consistently stayed at the top for me, even though there's been 2 maps released since then. Next up, we have the most recent map, Intisuyu, Peru. This is a very solid map. Now, one of the awesome things about Intisuyu is it has a fantastic species list, and most of the species have a crazy amount of rares. So not only is Peru just a beautiful location to have a Call of the Wild map, but they chose a lot of really good species. We've got the jaguar, we've got the spectacled bear, we've got the taruka, there's the vicuña, the tapir, among a bunch of other awesome species. There was a ton of brand new animals that got brought in with this reserve. And it flows really well when you're trying to hunt around. If you want something that's more open and casual, you can go up into the mountains and hunt the vicuña, the taruka, and stuff like that. If you want something more difficult or challenging, you can go down to the right side of the map, where there is quite a bit of like thick forests and jungles and stuff like that, along with just some awesome species to hunt around those areas. Like if you go along the river in the middle that crosses from left to right, as well as the coast on the right side, you can hunt tons of caiman, tapir, and capybara, one of the community favorites. It's a great map. And after playing it for a couple of months, I can officially rank it. A lot of people always ask me where this ranks, and I always say, it's a good map, but it's not my number 1. I can officially say at this point, it is my 2nd favorite map. So there we have it. This is my initial ranking. Now the question is, do I want to move anything? Yes, I think I do. I think Quattro goes down. Quattro, I just don't feel like it deserves to be at the top of OK. I think it's more fitting to be at the bottom of OK. As well as... Oh gosh, this is the toughest part, man. Deciding if I want to reorder any of these. Now that I'm thinking about it, man, maybe we will move Virhonga up 1 slot. I feel like I do return to Virhonga more than Salsvisen Park outside of pheasant grinding on Sal's. So I think we're going to put it there. Yeah, I think that's my official ranking. I don't think there's anything that I would really move at this point. I think this is probably going to be where we keep it. So that's our final ranking, guys. I appreciate you watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let me know in the comments what you would change. Obviously, be respectful about it, but let me know your thoughts on my tier list here. Do you like what I did here? Do you think I was too harsh or too kind to some of the maps? And also, leave a like on the video and hype it up if you haven't already. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!